Hello and welcome to the Inner Compass 5 Photos. And today I've got a wonderful guest, Steve Adair, who is a mentor, Steve Adair Mentoring, and with a real heartfelt theme today around dementia. So I just want to welcome Steve. Hi there, Steve.
Hi Liz, thank you so much for asking me to be part of this. I'm really excited to be sharing with you.
And these are 5 photos that you've chosen relating to dementia. And I know that you've got a real sense of dementia, or a thread of dementia running through your life, your family life.
Yeah.
Just give us a little bit of background about that, Steve, before we take a look at your photos.
So it must have been about 7 years ago. First of all, I heard that an aunt in South Africa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and the distance kind of been, so we would hear from the family how things were going, but it wasn't completely in my world as such on a daily basis. But around about almost 4 years ago, my father-in-law and my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law was the father-in-law's carer, were both diagnosed with dementia, one with old age mixed dementia, another one with Lewy bodies dementia. And we really became my partner and I became the two who really put everything into action to make sure that their needs were seen the best that we can. And it kind of threw us into a world as in, what is this? We don't understand what's happening, what's going on. So we self-educated, we took courses to learn the practical side of things, which was going on, which was really great to allow us to be a lot more present, because we understood a little bit more what was happening to them. And then my aunt, who lives in the same village where we live now, I think it's about 2, maybe 3 years ago, she also was diagnosed with dementia. So it was something, it very much was coming on the radar. So it was a distance to start, and we kind of was curious how my aunt was to actually supporting 2 men who were needing great support. And if we weren't there, basically they wouldn't have got that. So we did everything from getting full-time carers in, making sure they're in the right system of where they need to be, all the practical things. Yeah.
Great. Well, shall we move on to your 5 photos then, and
Sure.
see the journey that you're going to take us on?
Sure.
So here's your first photo, Steve. Take us through it.
Yeah, so this is a photograph when I was in Canada on Salt Spring Island. And it was a time of my life where, so like my background is I'm a psychotherapist. I do training, I'm a mentoring and so on. And everything was very much in getting everybody better, making everybody well, making sense of life and so on. And I was kind of on a treadmill of that, of making myself a better person and everybody that came in to see me and practice. And when I went to Salt Spring Island, the best way to say it was that I saw truly how my life is created through me. And I dropped out of all the expectations for a moment of who Steve Adair is, and saw myself completely fresh and new. So that was on the actual day where I went, and there was this kind of walkway that you can go out. And I remember standing there thinking nothing but, oh my God, just watching that moment of, I don't have to have a control, or nobody has a control to make that sun set and rise the next day, and for the ocean to do what the ocean's doing. And I was just in a sense of awe. And it's each time that I look at that photograph, it's not that I try to go back to that moment when it happened, but I'm remembered of the simplicity of life, of how that life has a structure, that it knows how to look after itself. And if I allow myself to be aware that I also have a structure as a human being, we all do, then I'm more in that feeling again of the sun setting and the sun rising, and there's nowhere to get to but the moment that we're actually in. So I felt I wanted to start with that, because that was like, I was hearing things like mental health is one thought away, and I would still wrestle with that. But in that moment, I really got that when we see that truly life is from inside out, it's the moment experiencing through us that we become the witness to life, with no cognitive or repetitive thinking, or having to be in the illusion of getting it right or being in control, that we can actually let go and just listen to that stillness that's inside us. So for me, I thought that's a nice way to start, because that stillness is something that, because I know it, it's like you call it your compass point, which I love. That's my compass point photograph of just, yeah, I'm breathing and I'm okay in this moment.
Awesome. And what a beautiful, beautiful photograph. And
Yeah.
I can almost go back there with you into
Yeah.
that little space just by looking at that.
Yeah.
So shall we move on to your second photo?
Yes, please.
So here's your second photo.
So this is my father-in-law, Ernst, and this is, and I'll speak about Amy more in the next one, but Amy is the life coach and well-being person at the care home where he is now. And this was him up dancing at his 93rd birthday. And what I was thinking of showing the photograph that I took after that, where he actually spins her back. And it's like, oh my goodness, at 93, at my age, I'd be like, oh, my back, never mind. He was spinning around and so on. And the reason that I wanted to show that was the delight in his face. I was speaking about the inner compass point, and with him, you have to really listen to yours when you're with him. His short-term memory is gone, so you have to be in the moment with him. And that's a gift really that he's giving us, because we can't go on about the old. But then I was saying to you, it's like, because he's from Austrian German descent, then it's St. Nicholas Day. And so they would put a stocking up the night before, and I got a video this morning come through of him getting his, because it's today, his stocking and so on. And when Amy was saying to him, do you want to dance? And he was like, yeah, all right then. And he was up there and he's giving it. And I wanted to show that when we have that face of dementia, it's like people are living well with dementia. It doesn't always mean that it's not happening. And that's what I wanted to show, was that, yes, he needs that 24/7 care now, but there's these moments where you can go and just be present with him. And that present allows you to really have the gift of just having fun with them. Like, we went to visit yesterday and we had so much fun. We sat and had something to eat and with them, and just talking about different things, and nowhere to get to, but just that moment. And so I didn't think that I could speak about dementia without actually showing a photograph of what he looks like. And his dementia is very different. Like, when you speak to the clinical lead there, they were saying it's really unusual, because he gets up and he's the only one on the memory floor who knows exactly where to go to the lounge, exactly know where to go to the dining room, exactly where to go to the toilet. And then he struggles a little bit back to his own bedroom, but he knows the direction. And it really taught us, it's like, you know, there is symptoms that we know of dementia, but don't forget the person. And when you actually watch, then there's a different presence that actually happens there as well. And I think in that presence, what is really happening is allowing yourself to be present. And when we're present, it means that we're just simply not allowing our churning of our thinking of how it has to be, and just be more present to how life is showing up in the moment with them. And that's always more fun. And even, I mean, I don't know if he's had a difficult day. That's where it's, I mean, he just seems to bounce through. He's 93 years of age. When he had a head cold, it was like, he never complained once. He just bounces through. And then before you know it, it's like he's back to being his cheerful self. And he was through that. So I wanted to show that, again, you wouldn't know if he was standing there, that's someone living with dementia. And that's why I wanted to show that there.
So it's he's got a lovely smile, and like he's enjoying life. It's a beautiful photo.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great, let's move on.
So I spoke about my brother-in-law, Ron, also. At one point, his dad, Ernst's carer, and they were diagnosed with dementia not that far apart from one another. So this is another photograph with Amy, and I really have learned such a lot from just watching Amy and a lot of the homemakers that is actually around, but specifically Amy. And there was one particular day where Ron was during the summer, had a really difficult time. His symptoms it seemed to progress quite a bit. So we were getting the medical team to kind of look after him. But so I was sat and I saw on the notice board that there was a drummer. They had an African drummer going in the afternoon. Now that's really good for them to actually get used to working left to right and so on, and different. And even though it's not something he normally would go for, he thought, okay, I'll do it. But when I'd said to him, you know, there's a drummer coming in the afternoon. Oh, right. So not even 5 minutes later, Amy came in and says, Ronnie, we've got a drummer coming in the afternoon, and Presence arrived. He became so present to her. His eyes lit up. He was smiling and he says, oh, great. I really look forward to that. And here was me, no, wait a minute, not even 5 minutes ago. And I became really curious about that. So I says to Amy, what happened there? What did you do? And she says, oh, I've not had any training in it. And I says, no, I'm not asking you that. I says, what happened there? I says, because what I saw was you just being present. There was no expectation, and he arrived. And that's taught me a great deal, that when we don't have an expectation, we allow the presence of the other person, and whatever state of thinking or whatever state of dementia, to be present the best that they possibly can. And I loved seeing that. And even now, like yesterday when he was sitting laughing, as soon as she comes again, it's this presence. So he's feeling something. We call it maybe the oneness or a connection. And he's feeling that, where she was the first port of call, really worked with him when he arrived there. So there's a safety there. But also you can just see more of this, you know, compass point to compass point. Actually just not having any static in the way, just actually hanging out with one another. And she's just not like that with him, with them all when she goes round is that way. But so again, for me, the reason why I wanted to share that one was that even though I come with an understanding of how people work the best that I can, I still learned something from there. So it reminded me that we're always learning. And here was someone who was just coming from the heart and dedication to wanting people to have a better life.
And isn't that what it's all about?
Absolutely.
Coming from the heart. I mean,
Absolutely.
that is so beautiful. Okay, so let me see. This is our fourth slide.
Yeah. So this is the one again I wanted to show. This is what they call a therapy dog. And I think the dog's only been in once, but the home they've had goats in, they've had a pony in there, they had donkeys at their summer fair, they had owls that go in, different birds of prey that go in, and Ron also from an early age had a degenerative eyesight, so we knew that was always, as an adult, be a problem for him. Never mind if the dementia is going to take his eyesight away as well. But this dog went straight in and sat on his knee. And before we had our little dog, he was a bit like, well, I don't really do dogs. And you can just see his face there. It's like, again, he's in that moment, that unexpected moment. And it just, again, I wanted to show that people can still, with dementia, they can still, some of them, depending where they're at and their status is, they can still work, they can still drive, they can still sing, they can still dance, they can still have dogs sat on their lap. But the reason that I really wanted to show that was that it is possible, is what I say, is to live well with dementia, but that I don't see someone living with dementia there. I just see a man really enjoying being in that moment with that. So yes, there might be a little bit more restriction that he has in his ability, or it looks that way to us because we give a title called dementia, but we've seen him be present in so many other ways, and his dry, wry sense of humor still comes out. So that person's still in there somewhere. And again, if I go back to presence, when we just allow ourselves just to be, that's what the dog did. The dog didn't go anything, oh, he's got dementia, I can't get near him. The dog was just like, oh, I like the look of you, or I like the feel of you. And Gents went and sat on his knee. And Ryan was completely okay with it, whether before he might have been like, oh, I don't do dogs, but he was just sat laughing. And there was a little story, I'll just tell this part, where Amy says to me, tell Steve what happened, because they have a nursery, a kindergarten across the road, go over twice a week to have a class with them. And there's this little boy come up and says, Ron, can I give you a kiss? And Ron says, yeah, okay. So put his face down, thinking the little boy's going to kiss him, and he blew a raspberry. on his face. Well, Ron laughed and laughed. And even this was days later, she was telling me about, and he laughed again. And it was like, see, he's still, there's things that's lighting up his world. Whether we can get lost in, oh, is this okay? Is that okay? Does it need to be? Because he's got, no. Let him just be himself and let him be present into whatever way that he can. So this was one that I took at the North Devon Mental Health Conference that I spoke at. Gosh, what is it, 3-4 weeks now? And the reason why I took that is I love the ocean. Obviously, I started off on this one. But when we arrived the night before the conference started, because it was dark, we couldn't see the ocean. We could when our night vision kicked in, but we more heard it. But we drove down there in snow. It didn't land, but we were driving down in snow, and it's like turning up. So we got in, and the next day, there was a storm still around. So it just looked like the sea was just going this way. And then the next day, it was a lot more calmer. And it was like, oh my goodness, that isn't the sea flowing through. There's an actual bay there. I didn't see that. I made up a story that the sea was running through, and there's an actual bay there. And there's actually, the ocean's going in and out, and the tide's going out, and there's more beach coming. So it just reminded me that when we have fixed thinking, we can get, that's what we create identity from. And here was the little bit of the illusion of my thinking, because I would have gone back up home. Now, it's no big shakes finding out that it was that, but it was just, I just saw with all simplicity, it was just as that ocean is going to go in and out and touch the sand, we too in our thinking do the same. And we saw that when we were at the beginning, more so when we were supporting Ernst and Ron, was that there was moments where it just looked like life was fixed and we didn't know any way out of that. And then of course there is help out there. And the more that we started seeing that, and then the more that we kind of took our foot off the gas pedal, because we didn't want them to get into a home. It's like, we looked at ways, should we sell our home and get a bigger home and all these things. But the moment that we let go, we started saying that there is a beach there. It looks different from what you thought it had to be. And so once we kind of took a breath and just kind of allowed the experience to be the experience, we saw life very differently. And now you've got where we can go there and celebrate birthdays. We can go there enjoying, and they have wonderful things coming up for Christmas, and it's treated still as their home. So we can still be to their home and be family, rather than having to be the sorter out or the problem solver. And if that comes up, we can do that. But that just reminded me, like, as I started off with the sun, that there's always going to be a new thought, a clear thought. That reminds me that with every breath that we take, just like the ocean in and out, there's a wisdom guiding there. There's a wisdom that's so neutral, it just works with the design of how it is. And as human beings, we get lost in our design at times. And that just pointed me that when I know that there is mental health inside, and I don't mean sickness, mental health, then that's what rights me. That's what allows us all to just realize that the day when it was actually raining and I was watching the drops of the rain go into the ocean, it was like, it's no longer a raindrop, it's the ocean. And it's like, there's that oneness again. We can live life just thinking that we are the only ones struggling and doing things, but there's more people out there that can actually help in this great big oneness of who we are.
Oh, Steve, so thanks so much for taking us through your 5 photos. I've so enjoyed it, and it's so pertinent for me because my dad has dementia, and this has resonated for me personally on so many levels. It's been absolutely beautiful, perfect timing. Steve, if people want to get hold of you or find out more about what you're up to, how do they do that?
Well, they can go to the website, the number 3P, life-soul, soul.co.uk. But I'm looking at changing that. But the website's there that they can go to. But if they're on Facebook, if they go to Steve Adair Mentoring, then my Facebook page will come up, and everything that I'm doing will be advertised on there, and little food for thoughts and whatever I feel inspired to actually share will go on there. So I would recommend to do that, because I'll be more in connection, where within the next month or so, then the website will be coming down. But they can look at it as it states just now. But Steve Adair Mentoring on Facebook is the easiest way to stay in touch.
Brilliant. Steve, it's been an absolute delight and pleasure. Thank you so much for taking me through your 5 photos today.
You're welcome, and thank you for asking.